Dr. Page, the best guy to see in the worst day of your life, and welcome to the show. I'm here with Heather Carter, HeatherCarterWrites.com. She's an author, a speaker. Heather, how are you? So good to have you on the show. I want to ask you a couple things. One of your blog posts I thought was very interesting at your website was about Thomas Kinkade. I didn't know that Thomas Kinkade actually had, some drug and alcohol addictions. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that somebody that was such a great, painter of light, like all of us, has his challenges. But I loved your blog. You were talking about being a light and what that means in our lives. What does it mean to let our lights shine and kind of continue to plug into God as the source?
Yeah, well, I think in reading Thomas Kinkade, I've been reading this book of his for 10 or more years, probably. The Advent book of Thomas Kinkade. And one of the things he talks about is he tries to paint pictures and he's the painter of light. So he's always trying to add light to an otherwise dark canvas. And he adds the light at the very end of the time. So I kind of see our lives are like that. We're kind of all a dark canvas of messed up, dull colors, but that when God adds his special touch to us, that anybody can shine. And that's the important piece for me, is that I start to get down on myself, especially as an author and a speaker. I think, the voices in my head start saying, who are you to do any of this? Who do you think
you're
you
inadequate?
Are? Yeah, you're just a mess. And the best thing for me to do is say, yes, I am.
Well, Heather, it's good to know that I'm not the only person on the planet that feels that way. But don't you think that inadequacy is a pretty good place to start? I loved your blog where you're talking about, how lights can be made just out of almost anything, boots and coffee, coffee makers and all kinds of stuff. So give us a little bit about your spoonful of courage that you would tell folks about. How do we learn to accept our inadequacy and see the benefits of our inadequacy?
Well, I think reminding ourselves of what we've learned and most people, even if they don't read the Bible regularly, know the story of many of the Bible characters, and they were also a hot mess. David murdered someone. He had an affair with Bathsheba, and then he had her husband killed. I mean, I haven't done any of those things. And
he was a rascal.
David has a whole, lot of stuff going on in the Bible, and God still used him and considered him a friend of God. And I think if we just remind ourselves that it's not us, we are in and of ourselves, we are inadequate, but God, that's the thing, but God. And as long as we stay plugged into the source, God will help that light shine through us. Like you said, you can make a lamp out of anything if it's wired properly. And that's what we need to do, is stay wired properly by being plugged into God, so that we can shine through his power.
I think that's such a good spoonful for our audience, that in spite of our inadequacies, God's adequacy often shines through even brighter when we just kind of become ourselves and expose ourselves, in a sense, being vulnerable to ourselves and to others and to God. We're here with Heather Carter, HeatherCarterWrites.com. She has a lot of great blogs, and we're going to have a link to this story on her website. She's the author of Soul Selfie, and her second book is Soul Selfie #No Filter. And once again, Heather has been busy doing book signings and speaking and doing all the things that authors do. And Heather, it's just been great for you to take some time out of this busy Christmas and share with us some of your insights.
Well, thanks for having me. Have a great Christmas.
Absolutely, Heather. Merry Christmas to you. And don't forget to text Spoonful to 66866. I'm Dr. Page, the best guy to see in the worst day of your life.